Yeah.
Do you think the Niners should bolster their offensive line or their defensive line this offseason? I mean, clearly both were exposed to a degree in the NFC Championship game. If they had to prioritize one, what should it be?
Wow. I mean, you've really got to do both. The answer is both, but this one's really tough because your defensive line has so many holes that if they don't bolster the defensive line, it's not going to be a shadow of what it's been in recent years, and that's not going to be good for the defense or for the team as a whole. So I would probably say defensive line because they literally are losing all these guys in free agency. Where on the offensive line, there's some young depth there, but man, when you look at the numbers of what Brock Purdy was able to do when kept clean, it makes you
Mm,
think if you could
mm.
somehow build a fortress around this guy and keep him clean, he might be able to win it all for you. So that's to me, it's 50-50. It's right down the middle only because Brock's numbers when pressured as opposed to when kept clean are dramatically different. Now, all quarterbacks' numbers are different, but his are dramatically different. I just really feel like if they can figure out a way to block, especially in the interior, that he's probably good enough to win with.
I was going to make a bold prediction. I'm going to save my bold prediction for later because a lot of my bold predictions aren't going to make fans happy, but that's what I do. But okay,
Right.
what I would say, I don't want to predict what they're going to do. What they should do, O line, O line. Like right now, they're committed 20% of their they've committed 20% of their salary cap to the defensive line, and 15% to the offensive line. I feel like 15% is low. I think if you look among the teams in the league, that's probably in the bottom 10. I mean, there are certain teams out there that are spending 55, 60 million dollars, like 25% of their cap on the offensive line. Detroit, Philly. And I think that's the way to go, especially if in the Super Bowl, like they're not going to call holding in the fourth quarter. It seems like we saw that happen already with Nick Bosa. He couldn't get a call in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. It seems like the NFL wants offense and quarterbacks to win. So maybe you should have more than one good offensive lineman on your team. I'm just saying, nothing against Aaron Banks. More than one good, expensive offensive lineman, veteran offensive lineman. The Niners have Trent Williams and a bunch of guys on their rookie deals.
Yeah.
I bet you they won't even. I'm not going to go off. Nope. I'm not going to do predictions yet. Keep going.
They need a right tackle
Yeah.
who can move people in the run game and pass protect.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a hard piece to find. And that's an expensive piece. You have to use expensive draft capital, high picks, or you got to go sign somebody in free agency. I'm okay with letting McGlinchey go because I think he's going to get overpaid. But they better be able to find a suitable replacement or two and improve their depth there. I mean, part of me looks at this team and says Brunskill and Compton last year were one step away from the Super Bowl. The other side says, well, they got overwhelmed in the moment by the Rams D line and they didn't go to the Super Bowl. So I think they need somebody who's a big, talented right tackle. The move that I would be intrigued by if I could move Kinlaw for Mekhi Becton, just from the standpoint of Becton's big, he's underachieved, he's got a bad knee. Kinlaw's big, he's underachieved, he's got a bad knee. Kinlaw is known by Saleh.
Yeah.
Becton would give the Niners a behemoth right tackle who, if they could just get him healthy, he might be able to give their run game, something that it doesn't have right now. I mean, just a dominant inline blocker.
Yeah. The problem with bolstering the Niners defensive line right now is that Armstead is currently taking up 10.4% of their salary cap, and Kinlaw is taking up 2% at $5 million. So those two right now are taking up $29 million. It's hard to, and then Nick Bosa's cap number is going up to 17.8. So it's hard unless they're going to draft more. And of course they should always draft defensive linemen. They got Drake Jackson. He can make an impact, but I don't know that they're in a position to go out and sign a bunch of defensive linemen. Historically, I'm looking, the Niners seem to budget 20% of their salary cap for the D line and 15% for the offensive line. If you go back through the years, that's what they do. At least the last 10. And I'm looking at Jacksonville right now with Trent Baalke. They're spending $55 million on their offensive line this year. So it's not, I don't know, is it Is it a Parag thing? Is it a John and Kyle thing? They really think you can get by with a cheap offensive line and just splurge on one position. I don't agree with their philosophy. I feel like the offensive line is what you should be spending on. Draft defensive line, spend on offensive line. And you spend on Bosa. But if they had, imagine if they had Buckner instead of Armstead right now, man, they'd be in a way better position.
Well, I mean, I liked that move in theory. It just has not worked out. And Javon, um, the knee problems are seem to be chronic, and the other factor with him is just that he's never going to give you much as a pass rusher, so he's got to be really good against the run on first and second down, and he's not.
Yeah.
So, I think there's no question that they're not going to cut him because it doesn't make any sense to cut him, but I could see him being traded.
I think the Niners, it's too bad that the Niners are spending, superstar money on Eric Armstead. It should be Buckner. But I feel like they have enough invested in their defensive line. Drake Jackson's coming along too. They got to spend more on their offensive line. $34 million when 28 goes to one guy is not enough on your offensive line. They got $28 million on Trent Williams and then like $1 million for Banks and $1 million for Burford and Jalen Moore. Bold prediction. Jalen Moore is going to be the starting right tackle because unless they're willing to actually spend on the offensive line, they should be spending more than $50 million on that sucker next year. They should be spending more than 20% of their cap on that. You're not spending on quarterbacks. Why wouldn't you? You said it yourself how good Brock Purdy is when he has time to throw. It seems like one of the perks of not spending on quarterbacks is being able to splurge on your offensive line, which makes everyone better. Definitely offensive line, 100% offensive line, but they won't. Kills me.
Yeah, the other thing is I don't see the need if you're going to bring both your young quarterbacks back, and right now those are the indications. I don't see the need to waste $5 million of cap room so Andy Dalton can live in Milpitas in a condominium. I don't see it. I mean, I'd much rather go with a rookie that you like. Whoever decided they liked Brock last year, give them a day 3 pick and let them take another quarterback and have the cheapest quarterback room in the league and go spend that money on your offensive and defensive lines. I would like the one advantage that I think the 49ers really have is that Jalen Hurts is going to make $50 million going forward, and Philly's going to have to pare down their free agency.
Oh, yeah.
They've got 12 free agents, 10 of them are starters. They're not going to be able to pay half those
No.
guys. So They're not going to be the same team at all. And nobody else in the conference is ready to run with you. And you have the cheapest quarterback room in the league. And if you lean into it with a rookie to boot, I think you might have the cheapest quarterback room in the history of the league, at least in the salary cap area. So then go spend that money in the secondary, spend that money on the D line, spend that money on the O line. That's what that's what I want to see them do.
I mean, you can't spend more than you already are at running back or tight end or wide receiver. I mean, you got a very expensive D line. Like you really spend it on linebackers. It just seems okay. Very, very cheap quarterbacks. Quarterbacks keep getting hurt. What should we spend on? I don't know. Can't figure it out.
Protect them.
I don't know, man.
Protect the quarterback.
Protect the damn quarterback. That's what I would do. All right. Let's make some bold off-season predictions for the 49ers.
This is tough, but I think they're going to wind up trading Javon. Now, that to me is bold because they took him 14th in the first round, and they're going to wind up trading him at a loss. But I think they're going to wind up trading him. I think it's it's a combination of things, but I don't know that he's what you want in a rotation, and the knee, if it was the knee or not, I don't know. But his effectiveness as the season progressed, went the wrong direction. I mean, he didn't get better as the season went on. He seemed to get less effective. So I don't think there's any question that he's an off-season trade candidate.
Yeah, and
That's
you
cool.
mentioned Mekhi Becton as one, right? Like that's an interesting one. A grass is greener type. Another guy at the end of his rookie contract who hasn't might need a change of scenery. Javon Kinlaw might need a change of scenery. Sort of like the AJ Jenkins Jonathan Baldwin trade. I like that. That could
Yeah,
work. That might be beneficial for Javon.
right. Might be a win-win. That's what you're hoping for in those trades is a win-win. You're not trying to screw anybody over. Hopefully he goes to maybe playing next to Quinnen Williams on the Jets. Maybe he helps him, and maybe Becton with the Niners, free of New York, gets in shape and shows up, and they got an unbelievable player. I mean, if Becton fulfills his potential, that's a huge win for the Niners, I think.
Absolutely.